I believe that city and county leaders have not viewed it as an emergency. I always use a health analogy because I used to work in the health field. And, you know, if you have a chronic disease like high blood pressure, you know you're not going to be cured of it. You know you're going to have to take medicine for the rest of your life. It's a chronic disease. And I feel like policymakers dealt with homelessness like it was a chronic disease. And now it's exploded, it metastasized, and it got completely out of control. In 1993, I was heading up Community Coalition. We were trying to take over motels in 1993 for people who were unhoused. And it took a pandemic for the city to come to grips with that was a strategy. So I think that we have to address this in a radical fashion, which means that I would declare a state of emergency in the city, but that's not enough. The state of emergency also needs to be federal because we need to have regulations relaxed on a federal level to deal with mental illness and substance abuse, which are key drivers for homelessness. But we also need to look at the population as not a monolith, but as different categories of people that are unhoused for different reasons.
Well, no different than what I've already done. And when you when you go to the voting booth and select the mayor, I want members of cause to recognize the actions that have been taken, not promises or plans, but what candidate has done the most to solve homelessness. And I'm proud I'm the only candidate who helped connect half of the people living on the streets in my district. By saying yes to solutions, 11 sites, 800 permanent supportive housing units, 800 interim beds, also having safe parking locations, navigation center. We have done it all in my district. And as mayor, I'm going to take this on citywide because that is a plan forward. But with homelessness, we have to have the carrot and stick approach. And the big difference in my plan is that when a bed is offered to an individual sleeping on the sidewalk should not and will not be an option. And this has been a proven model in my district, and why my colleagues have not agreed with me on this approach, and why I'm taking this to the voters. And I have a ballot initiative. I asked cause members to go to saferstreets.la. And what that'll do is advance quickly 9,000 interim emergency beds within the 36-month period, have accountability that when a bed is offered, the sidewalk will not be an option, to the point where when we get to functional zero on chronic homelessness, that we will have a no camping law throughout the city of Los Angeles. We will also have an accountability measure that if we don't meet certain thresholds, we will dock the pay of the mayor, the city council, the controller, and the city attorney. So there's an accountability piece, and we advance quickly on emergency shelter. And we move on those 9,000 beds when we activate the Emergency Operations Center. I'm the only candidate who has that experience, who's actually worked the Emergency Operations Center, because we have an emergency on our streets, and we're going to fix it as your next mayor.
Well, let's just remember that 10 years ago, we got a pledge that homelessness was going to be eradicated from the city of Los Angeles. And what's happened over the last 10 years? It's doubled. It's gotten worse. We've had a failure of leadership in the mayor's office and in the city council. There's no doubt about it. And so you need to change leadership, which we're about to do, but you have to have a leader that understands how to be an executive, make tough decisions, fair, compassionate decisions, but tough decisions. 44,000 people are now living on the streets of Los Angeles. It's a terrible condition. It's inhumane, what we're allowing, but it's also leading to crime in our communities throughout Los Angeles. And it's in every corner of the city. And we can't allow it anymore. So I have a plan. If you go to carusocan.com, very comprehensive plan to remove encampments from the streets and give the services to those who need it on the streets, mental health, drug addiction, and also people that just need an opportunity to restart their lives. We have to give people a better way and a better path to live their life, but we can no longer allow encampments on the streets throughout this city.
You know, I think that voters have every right to feel frustrated. They have every right to feel angry. It doesn't make a difference if you're on the left or if you're on the right or points in between. You know, I've only been a city council member for 1 year and 3 months now. In that very short period, I've housed more individuals than anyone in the entire city of Los Angeles. In that short period, City Council has already unanimously adopted my vision, 25 by 25, 25,000 housing units, whether it's construction or acquisition, by the year 2025. In that short time period I've been here, I've already constructed the largest tiny home village in the United States of America. It's right off the 110 freeway, off the Arroyo Seco in Highland Park. And in fact, in roughly about 10 days, I'll be opening up another tiny village in Eagle Rock, Figueroa in Colorado. I've already transformed 3 hotels into temporary housing as well as permanent housing. We're moving with a sense of urgency because I think that the humanitarian crisis that has been impacting the city of LA, not for years, but for decades. And to put this in context, so we can understand the magnitude of this humanitarian crisis, I represent a district that has more unhoused individuals than any other district in the entire city of Los Angeles. In fact, I have more unhoused neighbors in my district than any metropolitan city in America, except for 3, New York, Los Angeles in the aggregate, and Chicago. So I have more unhoused neighbors than the homeless population in its totality in the cities of Houston and Phoenix, the 4th and 5th largest cities in America. So that gives you an idea of how grave this situation is with regards to our unhoused neighbors living on the streets for years, if not decades. That's why we have to move with a sense of urgency. Listen, we can move, we can move heaven and earth to build football stadiums as well as basketball arenas. But somehow, some way, the machine of progress grinds to a screeching halt when it comes to either building or acquiring the roofs that are necessary to get our unhoused neighbors off the streets, off the sidewalks, off the alleyways, out of their cars, out of our parks, and into housing where you can have your own bed, clean sheets and clean towels, your own bathroom, your own shower, a locked door, your own HVAC system, air conditioning when it's super hot, or a heater when it's super cold. That's what we owe our unhoused neighbors because it's good for our community, it's good for our neighbors, it's good for the city of LA, it's good for children so they don't see what they see every single day and they think it's normal. It's good for our businesses, and more importantly, it's good for our unhoused neighbors. So right now, it's a question of leadership. And I think that what I've done so far so successfully in City 14, what I want to do is I want to duplicate that across the city of Los Angeles. And I'm the only council member, I'm the only elected official, period, that has housed more individuals. That's why I'm not waiting for either the title of mayor or waiting to become mayor to lead on this issue, because I'm doing something about it right now.
On my first day as mayor, I'll declare a state of emergency. It gives the mayor additional executive power, and it also sends a message to the community that this requires all of us in this emergency moment. I wrote a piece 4 years ago for the LA Times, and the piece said, if we had a disaster like an earthquake, there'd be a FEMA field general here in charge of recovery. That we have the equivalent of that disaster, it's homelessness, and no one is in charge. It was true then, it's true now. It needs to change. My first day, I appoint a top deputy who consolidates all the authority of the mayor's office, reporting directly to me on this issue. All my opponents have borrowed from these 2 ideas, but there's following and there's leading. I'm a leader now, I'll be a leader as mayor. I want to change our street engagement strategies. We should be saying to people experiencing homelessness, it is not safe for you here. 1,600 people died on our streets last year, and our public spaces need to be safe for everybody. So we have a place for you to go, but there'll be a choice date after which you cannot stay here to assure we balance that equation. And I want to emphasize the creation of permanent supportive housing using a private equity model that will build it faster and cheaper. In addition, I was the pioneer among elected officials 5 years ago in promoting the idea of converting motels into homeless and affordable housing. I'm going to be emphasizing that as mayor, it's cheaper and faster. I want to assure that the city and the county are working much more closely together on mental health and substance abuse. The doctor in charge of mental health for the county says we have an open air asylum on our streets, and we have 1,300 vacant substance use beds right now. Not on my watch. We're going to work together to change those things, and prevention is a key, because often we talk about what happens when people are already homeless, but we are needing to prevent people from falling into homelessness in the first place. I'm going to have a robust emergency fund to keep people from falling into homelessness. And as a lawyer, I've been prominent in creating a movement toward a right to counsel here in California. I've written key laws in Sacramento and promoted those ideas here. Those in combination are going to be important to keep people housed. So those are the steps I will take. As you can tell, they are very different from the steps being taken now.